Hello, good morning from San Francisco. My name is Noel, Community Manager for Odoo San Francisco. Today I'm joined by Sebastian, Business Advisor here for Odoo, and today we'll be talking about Odoo Manufacturing and PLM. Welcome, Sebastian.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you.
As always, we will be taking your questions and comments in the chat, so if you have any questions for Sebastian, please send them on in and we'll answer them towards the end of our presentation. Today's presentation should last about 30 minutes, give or take, and we'll leave time at the end for questions. We're also in the season for Odoo Live events, so be sure to check out where we will be, hopefully coming soon to a city near you. I know we've got Los Angeles coming up, let's see, Seattle, Las Vegas. We're also all over the world. We've got Lima coming up and a bunch of other places. So if you're interested in any of those, please check out odoo.com/events to get all of the latest information. So let's see, if by any chance you want to watch this video at a later time, you can use the same link to watch this same presentation as many times as you would like. So let's see, without any further ado, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you, Noel. Yeah, so actually on the note of the tours, we've got a lot more this year than we had last year and more last year than the year before. So we're putting a lot of those out there. I will actually be hosting one July 12th in LA. So if you're in LA, definitely stop by, check it out, Odoo events. We'll be downtown. I don't know the exact venue, but all the details are there. And I'll be running through a similar presentation, probably a more full flow of Odoo, and there'll be others there. So happy to have a conversation with you, talk about your needs with Odoo. That is what I do on a regular basis. So I am a business advisor here. I work on the sales team at Odoo, and my job is when you call in to talk about your needs, talk about what you're looking for, present the Odoo offering, and present a custom demonstration for your company. So I often put together demonstrations like this, customized for your company, for your industry, for your products, for your processes. We'll take a quick glimpse at that today with the focus on manufacturing and PLM. To introduce a little more what we'll be going through today, let's take a look. Let me see if I can change my screen over here. There we go. So the couple steps we'll take a look at. First off, a little bit of what we already started. The presentation, Odoo, the system is probably different from other systems you've used before, so it's definitely worth you have an introduction. Number two, in order to understand PLM, so product lifecycle management, engineering change orders, these are changes to your product, to your bill of materials, to the manufacturing process. In order to understand that, you're going to have to understand Odoo inventory and manufacturing and how those work. So we'll start there. Then we'll actually complete some manufacturing orders, and once we're familiar with that, we'll dive into PLM and the ECOs. We'll spend a little while there, of course, and then afterwards, hopefully we'll have a little time left over. We can do some Q&A. I do want to remind you that throughout the presentation, throughout the entire time we're on live here, you can send in questions. Again, we can answer those during that Q&A. If we don't get to those, I can answer those myself later. I invite you to click on the link that we'll be providing throughout here to schedule a meeting on my calendar. And I can not only answer these questions for you, but also take a look at, like I said, a demo customized to your company, especially if this is the first time you look at Odoo. I think that'll be a really big value to you. And with that being said, let's dive right into it. So let's jump over to my Odoo screen. And let me give a little introduction of what we're looking at here. I've made a simple database for this demonstration. We are actually a simple manufacturing company. We make chocolate bars. So we're going to be looking at something everyone's familiar with. And we'll be using all of the applications, most of them, on the screen today. I think that one of the biggest values, actually definitely one of the biggest values of Odoo, is to be able to have everything work together in one system. And so most of our customers will come off of working with just QuickBooks, just another sales system, just a separate manufacturing system. And a big issue is that those don't talk together. And so that's how Odoo came to be. This is what inspired a system like ours with all of these applications in one place. And so when we explore this today, we'll actually briefly start in sales. We'll create a sale order, and that will trigger my manufacturing orders, my inventory moves, in some cases, even my purchases. So again, really important point about Odoo here is that our main value is in bringing all this together in one complete system for you. The sales app, the inventory app, and the manufacturing app will work closely together in this demonstration, as will PLM. However, you'll see that at any point, whether I'm in sales or whether I start in manufacturing, I'm going to be able to dive into the functionality of these different systems, of these different applications without leaving them. So it is a seamless process, and I will point that out as we do it. So let's start off by exploring Odoo inventory quickly. This is arguably the center point of our database. All of our products, our company revolves around these, whether they're service products or stockable products, and everything that comes in and out of inventory is handled here. The first screen I see is my dashboard. This will be controlling all of the movements in and out of inventory, and most of it's automated. In fact, on a regular basis, you won't be creating any new documents here. My receipts are what comes in from my vendors. Whenever I create a purchase order, I'll automatically trigger a receipt. And the same goes for a delivery order. I can come in here and I have none ready to go out now. If I remove this filter, I can see all the ones I've already sent out. And again, these are triggered from a sale order. So a lot of these steps occurring automatically in Odoo are going to be very important and will streamline your processes. So let's take a quick look at the products so we can start to understand the demonstration we'll be having today. I've kept it very simple. As I pointed out, I have a chocolate bar. This will be my final product. And I have a few ingredients here that I'll be including as well. So note the Hershey's chocolate powder. I've also got Nestle chocolate powder. And I have, of course, milk, almonds, some typical ingredients here. This is another quick introduction, I guess, to the unique ways Odoo is going to handle this. We're looking at the product page, but you might say, hey, almonds, milk, I might not sell these. As a chocolate company, I don't. But these do go into my chocolate bar. They are ingredients in my chocolate bar, and therefore, they, just like any other product, finished or not in Odoo, is going to have a product page. And the reason is that this is where I configure that product so that all of these automated actions can occur in Odoo. For example, I've got cost indicators here. I can see on this product page exactly who the vendor is that I buy from, so that when I request this product, whether it be through a manufacturing order or through a sale, Odoo's automatically going to be able to create that draft purchase order, including price information, including vendor information, address, all of this automatically. So that's why we have a product page for each of these items. And of course, for regular inventory needs, being able to see what's on hand and what's forecasted. I'm going to click over to my chocolate bar. This will be one of the items that we make today. We might actually make an almond chocolate bar, but this will serve for initial example. Looks a lot like the other almond product page because it's basically the same thing. When I turn on a few other features, for example, manufacturing, I do get some extra buttons up top here, such as routes. But in general, the way to think about this is that everything below over here is about configuration. This is how I handle this item in Odoo. For example, this is a stockable product versus a service product. It might be in a particular category. This controls some accounting information, perhaps inventory valuation information as well. And as I scroll through, you'll see inventory, invoice information, and some of these will populate or not populate depending on how I handle this product. For example, my chocolate bar is manufactured and it is made to order, which means that I make these fresh every time. As soon as somebody requests one, I will manufacture that unique quantity of bars in the manufacturing application. A lot of this goes to setting up other parts of the system and configuring that, so we don't need to spend too much time there. The top bar is everywhere that this product is referenced in Odoo. All the sales I've ever made, all of the bill of materials associated with it. As you can see, even the ECOs, the engineering change orders, attachments, manufacturing orders, everything. And these are all links to other parts of the system, as I was pointing out. This button right here is a link directly to sales. I can take a look at the sales, how many items I've ever sold. I can actually dive into these particular sale orders, filter through this using Odoo's search tool, and so on. And as I do that, very easy to dive right back into inventory here by clicking on the product itself. Quantity on hand and forecasted is you'll see this throughout Odoo. Quantity on hand is what I have if I go back right now and I take a look at my shelf. I actually only have one sitting there. Perhaps I keep it in case somebody walks through the door and requests this. Besides that, I manufacture these make to order. Forecasted is a calculation that Odoo will produce based on, first of all, reserved quantities you already have for other sales, and also for production of this item. Whether I'm manufacturing more of them or I should be expecting more of them from a vendor that I ordered, that number will calculate right here. That is just about everything we have to explore for now in products. So let's take a quick introduction to the manufacturing app before we dive any deeper. Manufacturing is not only where I produce my items, it's where I indicate the work centers that I have in Odoo at this time. It's where I set up how those work centers function. It's where I can view reporting on overall equipment efficiency. I can see how each of these is doing. I can view all my graphs. There's a lot of stuff to do here in manufacturing, but as I pointed out, it is also where I house my different work centers and my manufacturing orders. So right here we'll be using two work centers today, a mixing station and an oven. We're keeping it pretty simple. And let's take a look at some of the work center configurations we can turn on. So early on you see, especially in the general information down here and the tabs up top, that the new manufacturing in Odoo as of the last year or two, I believe, is really, really strong for measuring efficiency rates by work center, by manufacturing order, by employee. And I can set up time efficiency factors and targets from here as well. Production times, this kind of information will help me plan these orders when I have a lot of them going through. And also a cost per hour, which will help me calculate the cost it takes to produce each of these items. Once we have created some manufacturing orders and we've got some real stats, we'll see this information populate up here. Again, a lot of reports, information on lost hours, perhaps due to material availability, issues with our machines, a lot here. And again, this is just going to be a general overview. We do have other webinars that are going to focus on manufacturing in general, much longer, much more complex. But this is enough for today, is to take a look at this to understand the way Odoo functions. The other thing is that we have manufacturing orders. This is where our manufacturing orders will come in whenever they're triggered from a sale order, or I create one right here in a nice list view. Some information off the bat here about the product we'll be creating, the quantity, is it even available right now, because Odoo is going to scan our entire inventory for the items on that bill of materials and see if they're available or not, and it'll let us know. And again, big difference from Odoo and other systems is the source document, knowing exactly what triggered this. Was it a sale order number 3 specifically? Was it another inventory move in Odoo right from here? While we're here, let's take a quick look at the logic of Odoo, the way it's set up, because you've probably already noticed that a lot of these screens look very similar. On the left side, especially in any sort of list or group view like this, we have our suggested next actions. Creating items, clicking through items, my action bar will appear up here. I can plan, I can unplan, delete, and all of these actions will change depending on the screen I'm on. These suggested next actions will change if I'm in sale orders. They'll be totally different. Also, the search tool. Really powerful stuff here from Odoo. The ability to filter through just about any information about this manufacturing order. This, again, will customize depending on the view I'm in. But I could literally locate almost any manufacturing order or product or bill of materials by digging through this information that we have included here. And then also grouping. So being able to group by, instead of the manufacturing order list, grouping by product. What am I making right now? Are they scheduled for this month? What the status is? They're all finished. And then being able to favorite this right in the middle here. So again, you'll see this throughout Odoo. I want you to Note that as we dive through, you'll see this, and it is a very powerful tool that we'll use a lot. On the right side, the different views that we can switch to as well. Perhaps for manufacturing, you use tablets in the manufacturing floor. This might be a nicer view. All right, so of course, without bill of materials, we can't manufacture anything. So let's take a look now at bills of material. I'm looking at this through the manufacturing application, but remember that Odoo is totally connected, and these bill of materials have to be connected to a product. There it is, the chocolate bar, the almond chocolate bar. These are the only items I have in inventory that have a bill of materials. They're the only ones that I manufacture. These are listed right on the product page. And let's take a look at what we have in here. Odoo definitely keeps this as simple as possible. We've got just a list of items you can add on here. And as you do that, you're scrolling through items that are already in my inventory. Very straightforward. As I pointed out, each of these ingredients has a product page of its own so that we can manage its current inventory levels. We can manage purchasing and anything else about it. So when I make this order, I can indicate the exact quantity I need to make one, because I only make one at a time, or perhaps I make 10, I make 100 at a time. Basically, per batch, we're setting this up here. The next thing to take a look at, actually how we manufacture, is the routing. So the routing allows me to say, hey, this is going to be completed with 3 operations. The first operation is done at Work Center 1, the second operation at Work Center 2. And so I set this up in the routing so that Odoo knows exactly where to take this item. So I'm diving through here. I've got in this routing 2 simple operations. The first one is called mixing. It goes through Work Center Mixing Station and on average takes 1 second. That's because I've been diving through it very quickly. Note that that's an average. We'll be doing real-time tracking in Odoo. And if I open up this operation, we have more information about the Work Center itself. I can even open up the Work Center card from here to check any information if I need to. I can attach a worksheet for instructions, and I can base that time computation on real time, on a manually selected amount of time. And again, this in the long term is going to be a big planning tool for you. So we set up our different operations, and then we can complete our manufacturing process. Now we'll be able to dive through. So in summary, very quickly, we have a product. That product has a bill of materials. On that bill of materials are all the items that are needed to make that. And the routing basically just determines how I make this. Where does it go? What kind of operations need to be completed so that we can mark that manufacturing order done. Now, throughout this whole process, you've probably noted that the product, the routing, even the bill of materials have a little field here called version. And of course, that's related to the PLM. That is a field that's automatically updating as we change versions, as our product evolves over time, as we change ingredients, change the manufacturing process. So again, we'll be diving back into this, but let's go ahead and produce a product. Let's take our first look at a full business flow with Odoo. We're going to jump into the sales application, which doesn't take much introduction. This is just my main page with all of the quotations that I send to my clients. So let's create a new one. Joe's Crab Shack is our only customer right now. As you can see, we can set expiration dates, more information here, but importantly, we're going to dive right in and create actually our almond chocolate bar. We can say Joe would like 5 or maybe more. Let's say he wants 20 because these are increasing in popularity. They're flying off his shelves. He wants more of these. And so we add these, they pull up the information about the item, and then I have my quotation. Very easy to make. Add these items, add the customer information, and we're moving forward. Remember that anytime in Odoo, I can dive through right to my contact card. So we have our quotation. This indicates in Odoo that this customer has requested this certain product. I can send this by email. I can have them pay online automatically. The main point here is that when I confirm this sale, this is not like your Salesforce or your Zoho. A lot of other actions will be triggered here. When I confirm the sale, Odoo recognizes that I'm now procuring this almond bar. There's now a demand in my system for this almond bar. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to look at the almond chocolate bar product page. It's going to see that I manufacture that item. So in turn, it will create a manufacturing order. And when it creates that manufacturing order, it will check the bill of materials and it will see if those are all available, if we can make it. So let's watch those steps occur. When we confirm the stale, the first thing that happens is the delivery order is made. This is our end goal. Ultimately, we want to be sending this delivery order to our customer, all 20 of them, to Joe's Crab Shack, and then we've completed the process. So this is where we will end. Now note that it is waited in another operation. I have my status bar here because Odoo knows that I need to manufacture this first. We can dive right back to my sale order and review this again. Now, what we don't have here as a button is the manufacturing order that's been created. And we won't go into too many details, but with easy tools like Studio, if you've heard of our customization tool, we can add those kinds of buttons here. Let's just jump over to the manufacturing orders on our own. Take a look at those manufacturing orders. And right here in blue, because it is brand new, is my almond chocolate bar, a quantity of 20. Let's dive into it. So immediately, it's taken a look at all the items on the bill of materials. It's added those here. It's added the exact quantity that I need in order to produce 20 units. It pulled that from the bill of materials, and of course, when I start to produce this, it'll be referencing the routing. So first things first, Odoo will ask you to check availability for this item. As soon as it does that, all of these turn black before they were red. Red marks not in stock. Red means bad, right? Red means we don't have them yet. So we check the availability. Odoo quickly can tell that we have all of these in stock. And then if we have them all in stock, it'll then reserve them. It'll reserve these items to be used in the manufacturing process, which means now if someone else comes in, another order comes in following this one where they request more chocolate bars, we might have to block their order because these, although still on the shelf and not consumed, are reserved for this order. I'm going to quickly leave the developer tools here. This is a technical setting in Odoo, but it's right now just bothering us a little bit with this pop-up that keeps occurring. Okay, so that's gone now. Now, next step, let's go ahead and plan our manufacturing order. And remember that the planning basically implies production of this order. That routing has told me I need to complete 2 operations to finish this manufacturing order. There are those operations. 0 of 2 have been completed. So my next step is, of course, to dive into those. So let's jump in. The first one in a list view appears right here. And my work instructions pop up. Instructions on current production and my time tracking page are all visible here. Let's go ahead and start working. As soon as I start working, I'm going to be logging time instantly. And although I only have one user logged in right now, I can have multiple people logged in at once, everybody logging time on this order, and then we can look at those statistics later. I can pause, I can go to lunch, I can scrap items, perhaps my almonds are bad, I have to throw those out, and then I make another inventory move to pull those from stock. I can also block, and I can add a reason for blocking. Equipment failure, material availability, again, all for the purpose of being able to report on this strongly later. Once we're finished, we mark this as done. This might be something that we require manager approval for. We can now move on to the next step and note that our progress bar is updating automatically. The next step is now ready because the first one has been completed. And until that one was completed, it was in the pending stage. So this is all occurring automatically. Same process here. I can start working. If I have work instructions, those are listed here. And so this is just our simple operation-oriented, work order-oriented manufacturing process. Once I mark that as done, I've now completed 2 of 2, correct? So if I go back to my manufacturing order, it automatically knows that 2 of 2 have been finished. Now, perhaps I still need to account for some loss, some scrap, but once that's finished, I can mark this as done. And marking that as done marks it as finished in Odoo. It can now move back to its location and inventory or move over to its delivery doc so that we can send it out to the client, right? 2 of 2 have been completed, and as soon as I mark that as done, we also have a cost analysis that appears right here. Again, I'll briefly take a look at this, but this is more in-depth, actually producing a unit cost for us. Note that cost. We should probably increase. I believe we're selling at $3 each right now, so we're in a loss for sure. All All right, so this is all set. Remember that the sale order triggered a delivery order, and I can track that through the sales if I go directly to that order, but it also exists right in inventory. And so there it is, one delivery order that's late. Let's get it out to them as soon as possible, using my filter tools to identify just the one that we need to send out. And now we can go in, scan these out if we're using our barcodes, and get them off. Perfect. When I validate, that officially goes out to the client. It's out of my inventory. And so that quickly we've been able to do a really simple manufacturing process in Odoo. We saw how we set this up, and then we saw how we follow through the order using the Odoo value, right? Starting at sales, seeing that through manufacturing, and then finally out through inventory. So the next step comes up, which is how do I make changes to those bill of materials? My chocolate bar changes over time. Perhaps one of my vendors goes out of business. I have to have now new chocolate powder, and that chocolate powder is different. I have to use it in a different quantity. I have to change my recipe, but it is the same finished product. So let's talk about how we track that. Let's dive into the PLM app, and I'm glad that we were able to look at some of the other applications beforehand, because this will give you a nice understanding of the way the PLM app is set up. It's really no different than any other screen in Odoo. I have my search bar. I have my multiple items or pages to list through. And then, as with sales teams, as with other teams and setups in Odoo, I have my boxes. My boxes here are going to organize, in this case, different types of engineering change orders. Within each of these boxes is its own Kanban view that I can open up. I can customize each one. I can set up different approval steps for these ECOs, and I can manage it with different teams, different groups of people, different people that are in charge. Again, that is done in each of these groups. So to simplify this, I just have two teams here, my BOM revisions and my routing revisions, changes to the actual manufacturing process. Let's dive into one of these and let's see what it looks like. So when I dive in, we've got our Kanban view here in Odoo. This is, again, very similar to Kanban views you've seen elsewhere in our system. Simple stages to track progress of this ECO, of approval stages, how far along we are. You can receive notifications as these move along. We can set priority levels. We can do all sorts of configurations here that are going to help us control this process in this stage. When I create a new ECO, it'll appear in the new stage, and then I might have to set up an approval stage to get it to in progress, and I might have to move it around. Let's explore some that we've already put into place right here. They have a name, they have a number. We also have tags, so simple, chocolate, urgent. These are tags that we can use to either group by, we can filter through our orders that are, for example, urgent. And so a nice indicator by color as well of certain information about this ECO, to put it simply. Also from here, the ability to add activities, schedule activities for this, perhaps for somebody else in the company to take a look at this. As you know, if you've seen our other webinars, activities manager up here, message manager up here. So all of these will be triggering different actions and setups in Odoo. The Kanban view is really, really strong at being able to pull your organization together, set up automatic notifications and communication around these changes that are occurring. Finally, you've got this little step right here, which is actually, I actually opened up the ECO, so we might as well take a look, but is the progress bar as well that we can take a look at. Now that we're in here, let's take a look at the ECO, the page itself. And again, very similar to what you've seen before. A simple form up top, any referenceable information, the new bill of materials that was made, any attachments, CAD files, for example. Indicators over here about the type of revision, what we're applying this change to, is it the bill of materials? And if we dive through here, we can explore all the approval, all the changes that have occurred when this ECO was being created. You've probably also noticed at this point our chatter area in the right side here. This chatter is going to allow us to have full traceability of any change that occurs in Odoo and who makes that change, who moves this from validated to effective, who approves this. All of that has been documented here in Odoo with an actual timestamp if I scroll over. So as opposed to other systems that might be hard to track somebody down, track down who changed or who created a sale order even, Odoo is going to be tracking all of that right here, and this is searchable. So that is the basics. Again, you've seen the status bar in the middle, the suggested next actions on the left, not too different from what you've seen before. So let's, first of all, edit and create our Kanban view so we can look at how to configure that, and then we will pass an order all the way through. So in this box, in this group, this team for routing orders, we have only got one stage, the new stage. So let's go ahead and build that out. We'll have it map quite similarly to the other group. In progress, we will do validated and then effective. But the way that each of these is controlled or acts is dependent on the way we configure it. So let's dive into this stage configuration. Very simple. What group is this going to be in? We've kept it in the routing revisions. And what is the name of this stage right here? But these are the important things, really. Is it going to be folded in my Kanban view? Is this where I can apply the changes, or is this the final stage? These basically determine, is this where it's going to sit last? Does this mark the end of the trail for me with my ECO? And am I able to apply changes before that? Will I have the ability as a manager or as a head engineer to now apply these changes to all future bill of materials, for example, in Odoo as we manufacture them? And of course, the approvals. Who approves, whose approval is required to pass through this stage, what type of approval that is, and exactly what user is going to be added there. All of that is done here. Now, in my in progress, this is where I want to get my main approval. And so we'll say, as the head engineer, I would like to see a full approval required for this to move forward. I don't need this to be the final stage by any means, and I don't want to apply my changes yet, but I want to track that approval in my in progress stage before it moves through there. Now, what about validated? In validated, I probably want to apply my changes, and then once applied, we can move it over to the last stage where it'll sit and garner any other feedback that we need from the team at any point. So the last stage, effective, we're going to mark that as final stage so that it all sits in there once it's done and finished. So we have quickly set up our Kanban view. Now let's go ahead and make a new change order. So let's click on create, our suggested next action, and let's put something together here. Let's say that we need to change the bill of materials and then also the routing at the same time. So we're going to bring this together. First of all, our Hershey's powder has been weak lately, so we're changing that to Nestle. So we'll call this the change to the BOM or change to ingredients. And we'll also call this an additional step. An additional step has to be taken with the Nestle powder to be completed in the manufacturing process. So we give it a name, we indicate exactly what we'll be changing, and then that reflects what we can see down here. So we're making changes to our almond chocolate bar. This is the bill of materials we'll be making that change to, and this is the routing as well that we have populated here. In some cases, you might have multiple routings, multiple bill of materials for a product. You can handle those here as well. Any tags that we need, we'll say this is urgent because our customers are giving us a lot of feedback, and it is chocolate related, but it's certainly not simple. This is high stakes, folks. So once we put this together, we can start that revision. You'll see as my approvals come in, as they're done, we'll be able to track that right here, but we don't have any yet. So let's start the revision, and let's move us over to the in progress phase. Now that we're here, we also see the buttons up top. So my routing revision, this is going to be a direct link to our new and improved routing page. Of course, no changes have been made yet. That is where I'll make those changes. And this is where I'll make the changes for the bill of materials. And both of these will be documented right here as they're changed. Any CAD files, attachments can be included here as well. And of course, this is all documented together. Note that as soon as I go into the in progress page, immediately I have my approve and reject buttons because I've moved into that stage. If I go back to new, that disappears. So we're now ready. We can't move on from this stage until I approve this order. So let's jump into the bill of materials and let's make that change. We're going to go in here. We're going to remove the Hershey chocolate and we're going to add the Nestle chocolate powder. And we're also going to do 25 grams of this, right? Or units is what I have set for my chocolate powder because it's pretty comparable. So the Nestle powder comes in, and that is the only change I need to make to my bill of materials. So we make that change, and then using my breadcrumb trail right here, I jump back to the main ECO page. Immediately, I have my documentation here. This one's removed, this one's added, the exact quantities, and Odoo really likes to offer me even some color indicators here. Very quickly I can tell the Hershey's chocolate is gone. It's been taken away. Now I can go over to my routing page and let's make a change here. I need to add another step and we're going to call this the extra bake because that's just what we need. It'll occur in our oven, the same oven, and we think it'll take about 3 minutes to really get this crispy. All right, so once we add that, we've got now a third operation. Note that immediately Odoo is indicating to me that this is the second version of this route. My bill of materials says the same thing, as does my product, so I can track that throughout. Now that I'm here, I've got the changes to my routing. So once these are in effect, the idea is that I am then notified as this moves through stages. I am notified that I need to approve or reject this item. So what happened next? As the head engineer, I end up on this page. Either I dive through the PLM app or I receive an email notification. If I forget, one of my coworkers tags me and says, "Hey, check it out." Perfect. They send that off to me, I get that notification, and I come in here, but I'm not happy about the way it tastes or perhaps the amount of powder in the Nestle. It's just not enough. I need a stronger flavor, so I go ahead and reject that. Now, all that's done, if I go back to my Kanban, is indicated this project as blocked. This ECO is blocked. It can now no longer move forward. Nobody can move this into the next stage until it's garnered an approval from me, the required approval head engineer. If you have multiple people to approve it, the same thing goes. Not until everybody approves can this move on. Once it approves, that'll appear green and it'll automatically move into my next stage. So let's go back. Oops. Let's dive right back into the ECO. Let's make another change, right? Actually, it turns out we need more Nestle chocolate powder, so we're going to add a few extra units, and we're going to actually decrease the amount of milk just to make this a bit stronger. And we dive back, and same thing goes. Our changes are all reflected right here. Perfect. So now this is in effect, I can go ahead and approve this. When I've approved it, we can now move on to the next stage. And when I move on to the next stage, remember that I set this as my apply changes step. Our chatter is being updated. So now that it's been validated, now that it's been approved, I'm notifying members of the company about this. Note the followers over here. Anyone relevant to this change is going to receive a notification about this. Now that it's validated, I can apply those changes. So we're now going to turn this bill of materials and this routing into the new version of for that product straight up. So now it's noted any new orders that are created in the system will be using this new bill of materials and this new routing. orders that are in effect at this time or being created right now will not be affected by that. Now, I do know that everyone involved in the ECO has been notified, but my floor workers have not. I need to make sure that they're aware of this change so that they use the Nestle powder, not the Hershey's, out of habit. So I'm going to go ahead and create an alert. This alert I'm going to apply at the first station, and I'm going to say, hey, just so you know, these have updated. This will pop up right on that operation so that they know this needs to be taken into account so we don't make the wrong chocolate bars. So we create the alert, and now we are in the effective stage where we moved automatically with that change being applied. Now let's dive over. I have another screen here. This is the same database. It's just another screen that we'll be using to check out the bill of materials and other items just to confirm those changes that we made. So let's take a look at those bill of materials. That almond chocolate bar, there it is, the updated quantities, and that routing also updated in version 2 with the extra bake step. Perfect. That means that now I'm ready to manufacture this. I'm ready to make it. Those changes are updated. So let's go ahead and let's just start right from the manufacturing order. We'll skip the sale level. We'll create a new order and see what that looks like. And again, we're going to add my almond bar. We're only going to make one, for example, and we're going to go ahead and plan this. Before I plan it, look at my items. Automatically updated, the quantity as well. We can plan this. We now have 3 work orders to complete, so this is immediately in effect. The first one, when I open it up, there's my warning. There's my warning. Make sure you're using the right ingredients. Everything is listed here, so it should be pretty clear. And now my team knows. So now we can move through. We finish these orders. Dive over to the next ones. Mark these as done. And as usual, once we've completed this, we really worked on it quickly, we can go back to the manufacturing order, mark that as done, and send it off. So we've properly changed everything. We've changed the bill of materials and the routing itself. We tracked all the changes here, and there it is sitting right in our effective stage. So how do I view this information later? Can I report on this information? Yes. As is always the case with Odoo, any information in Odoo, especially tied to other or referencing other records in Odoo like the manufacturing orders, we have live information about that. We can always explore all of our engineering chain orders in one place. Let's see, where's my filter here? Here's my list view. I can view all of them right here. I can filter through these. I can group these by state, group these by product. I can jump into my different views here, look at a graph view if it's going to be relevant information for that. Perhaps I can take a look at in total how many changes have I made to my chocolate bar. Most of those have been effective, so the majority line right there. All of that available just by changing screens right here in Odoo, even down to a pivot table that we can control ourselves, print out as a CSV file, alter this information, and then view it again in a graphical view. And let's explore some of those as well. Diving into this. On this page, I was not only able to track BOM changes, track all the approvals that occurred, timestamp each of these, and track the exact revisions that occurred here. I'm also able to attach files. So this is an older ECO. I have a file already attached here, which I can easily open up. I can download that and view this. I can remove it, but basically tracking this for the future. Let's take a look at how we add one of those quickly, and then we should be just about wrapped up here and ready for questions. Attachments, my ECO. We dive in, we say, in this case, very simple, the new recipe. Is this a URL? Is it a file? I can upload that quickly. We can go over here and just type in recipe, add that. This is the most important document that we used. Give it a description. And that's it. That's all it takes to add my item. I have lost my mouse. There it is. and the rest of it fills in right here. So very simple process to attach this. It will, for now, be always associated with this ECO and therefore this bill of materials that I can dive through right now. Let's take a look at my products and just confirm that my almond chocolate bar has now been updated to version 2. The bill of materials has been updated to version 2. And so has the routing. So we've done a proper change all the way through. We also have tracking of our ECOs. Noel, I think that's about it. I think we've gone through the whole thing, and I think, well, we've got a good amount of time, but maybe we have a couple minutes for questions. What do you think?
Indeed we do. Indeed we do. It looks like you explained it really well. There are very few questions in the chat. We just have the one. It looks like it comes from Ion Litio. So does Odoo support EDI, which is electronic data interchange?
So that is a good question. It is unrelated somewhat to PLM. It's electronic data interchange, the ability to send files, usually purchase orders and this kind of information between different companies using a particular format. Very big with wholesale industries. Yes, Odoo does. It's not. We don't have an out-of-the-box feature for it just because there's so many different types of EDI and people use them in so many different ways, but we do have clients that are set up with EDI. This is just a matter of working with our development team, transferring documents, and so on. So if you're interested in using Odoo, you have EDI requirements, definitely reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly if you want, and we can take a closer look at your needs and how we'd set that up.
Yeah, great. Looks like that, I mean, that was really it, honestly.
Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, pretty comprehensive. So thank you very much, Sebastian.
Sure.
If you guys have any additional questions that you would like to ask, send an email to webinars@odoo.com, or you can also send an email to Sebastian. He is ses@odoo.com. I'll show you his screen here. Should be, there we go. And we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's see. I guess with that, we've only got a few more things left. Don't forget, again, to check out odoo.com/events, and there you'll be up to date on every step of the tour that we will be doing. You'll be able to see Sebastian in Los Angeles. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe so that way we can continue making these videos for all of you and hope that they've been helpful. With that, we've got one last question before we go. Could you adapt this principle to production in service industries?
Right.
Architecture, for example.
Yes, you could. You could because although we looked today at physical products that have changes to the bill of materials and the routing, we can also make changes to the product. And Odoo references, by product, Odoo means any product. That could be a service product as well. So you can document changes to a service that you offer, for example, in a service industry and document that in the PLM. Now, that being said, if you are a service company, we have far more relevant apps for you. Take a look at our project management in particular is going to be our strongest application for handling service companies.
Great. Yeah, and so Sam, VC, if you want more specifics, please send Sebastian an email and he'd be happy to help you with any other questions that you might have. All right, so with that being said, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.